Recording is in progress.
Wonderful. This is Commissioner Quinberry, Chair of the Best Practices, Key Performance Measures and Strategic Planning Committee, calling this meeting to order on Saturday, September 20th, 2025 at 11 a.m.
Hit the hit count.
Right by the microphone.
Not the microphone.
I understand the microphone is very sensitive, so anybody sitting in the room, keep your whispering extra whispery today, please. Got roll call. Karen? Oh, it's just me. For the record, yes.
Louder.
Agency, and today present is Chair of this committee, Best Practices, Quinberry.
And
Here, present.
present. All right.
Approvals for the meeting. Do we need to, I don't know that we need to make
Yeah.
a movement. You approve it. Everybody's on board. Anybody? Okay.
We don't have a quorum, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, let's go to new business. I think Connie, did you want to start us off?
Yeah,
on that?
so
Thank
we're
you.
going to start with a review of annual performance, and review. We'll also be looking at this during the full meeting, but since this is a strategic planning meeting, this is the time to do it. If you could pull that up when you have a chance.
Which one?
Left bottom, there you go. There's a few things in here to report, Commissioner, Chair Barry. Last year, we were 75% in the green and 25% in the red. This year, we're 16% in the red, 16% in the yellow, and 66% in the green. And there's a couple of reasons for that I'll explain as we go down. Some of these factors are because of changes, legislative changes to our key performance measures, which has caused some of these shifts. The first best practices that we are reviewing is animal safety. This is one that does not look correct based on what really happened. If you're looking at it, I think everybody in here would agree that we did better last year than we did the year before. However, the legislators changed our performance goal from 1.5 per thousand to 1 per thousand against our advice on national standards.
Would you like the next slide up for the folks watching?
Yes, next slide. So they can see it. Sorry, I forgot to tell you next slide. So you can see where it says 41.8 and then 40.9. If we would have kept the same metrics, that would have been 68.8 this year. So we actually did do better. Are we where we want to be? No, but we have actually increased our in that category.
And I think this is a good time to note that we're going to be looking for feedback from a strategic standpoint from the Medication and Safety Committee to inform our strategic planning on this issue.
Right. One of the things that we're looking at is short, mid, and long-term goals. And I think that's an excellent idea, is to ask them and their committee to come up with some short, mid, and long-term goals for the safety. And one of the things that we want to be considerate of is to do whatever we can without driving the horsemen crazy by multiple changes, because I've heard loud and clear they want us to kind of tone things back a little bit, slow things down a little bit, because there's been a lot of changes the last couple of years. With that said, there's still more things that we can do, especially on our end. Some of the things that have occurred in this area, besides the KPM changing, is changes to senior veterinarians. We've been trying as best as we can to be consistent meet to meet. However, since we're using all contract labor, that's become somewhat difficult. We do think that we may be getting close to getting a veterinarian to start in the winter for next year. But, you know, we thought we were close a couple times before, so we'll wait and see on that one.
I'd mentioned this is an area where there is short-term just getting a veterinarian, midterm working on the pipeline of veterinarians, and long-term hopefully getting veterinarians into Oregon, large animal
Right.
equine vets.
And one of the things that we've been working on that, I'm glad you brought that up, and I request that we consider adding that in our strategic planning is, we did it by accident the first year, but I think we're going to intentionally do it from now on. Is the last 2 years, this year and last, we had people who were applying to veterinarian school. And both of them are becoming very interested in horse racing. So we're hoping to get more people interested who want to come back to Oregon and work with us. That's a long-term plan, but if we don't start somewhere, it's never going to happen. All right, the next slide, this slide, you're on it, the right one. No, stay there. This one is horse welfare. This is a brand new goal that we've been given by the legislators. We have a goal of no more than 1 out of every 250 positive tests for controlled substances. So based on this, we're at 100%. We had one during, we had, how many do we actually have? Yeah, we were 100%. We had very small numbers. Actually, we're probably over 100% based on this statistic. We have added additional testing that can influence it. We still have some relatively small samples, so that can influence it. And we've changed labs. One thing that we have noticed since two big changes that have happened year over year. Last year, we weren't collecting as much urine as we would like to. They were collecting very minimal urine because they were letting the horses leave the test barn after 30 minutes. So they were mostly blood tests. And the problem with blood tests is you can't catch all of the drugs that aren't controlled. So for this metrics, it was fine because we were getting blood on every horse. But for the other substances, we've seen some more positive tests this year because we are collecting more urine because we're keeping the horses in the test barn longer. We don't know if the new lab has made any difference or not. You know, we assume that the other lab was just as good, but this one is accredited and the other one did lose their accreditation. Something else to know about is we'll probably be changing labs yet again next year. We took this lab because it was the quickest one we could get into once we found out the other lab wasn't going to make the accreditation, because we already use them for hair testing, but they are also the most expensive lab. So there are 4 labs that are accredited by the horse racing officials, the 2 organizations that accredit these labs, and they're all blind tested against each other. So they'll take a substance and they'll send it to one lab and they'll send it to the other 3, and they're double blind tested to see that they're all coming out with the same results. And that's what we want. And if they don't come out with the same results, they have to meet and figure out what's going on. So we think that that is a much better system than what we were doing before with one that was not in that system. All right, and now it gets back into us asking for some longer, short, mid, long-term goals from the other committee.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is equine safety injuries. Again, this is one that we did quite well on, but it may be an overinflated result. We got 163% out of 100. And frankly, if I had my choice between higher injuries or higher deaths, I'd take higher injuries. You know, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure that catching more injuries is a bad thing. One thing that we are doing differently that we were not doing last year is we have a vet watching all the horses come off the track. So they can try to see anything that might be possibly lame that we can't see when we're up on the starting gate. Before, the second vet was staying primarily in the test barn, and sometimes they still have to be in the test barn, so they're still gonna miss some. But we're trying to get someone as much as we can to be watching the horse come off the track, so if they see anything that they're concerned about, they can grab it.
It'll be interesting to see year over year how those 2 numbers, catching injuries versus
Yeah,
wrecks
so
of track,
we'll see.
track with each other.
Another point I'd like to make is as far as the safety and what we're doing, we actually have currently a whole new process on how they're doing the physicals. Some people like the old way better, some people like the new way better, but we are seeing so far, it's only been a couple weeks, we are seeing less scratches this way. They're basically doing a pre-purchase exam on every horse. They're checking their heart and their temperature. So far, none of the horses have any concerns there, but obviously if you have a high fever, horse probably shouldn't be running. They haven't seen anything that was ridiculously out of range where they were concerned with. And also they're looking for anything that may suggest a heart condition that may need more monitoring. So go down to the next little slide with the pretty lines. All right. Again, this is a area where this is licensing turnaround. This has been a strategic initiative of ours for some time. One of the problems that we have is our licensing database is the current licensing database is extremely outdated. It cannot run on our current system anymore. We've tried to patch it as best as we can. It has tremendous security leaks. Fortunately, we have it between a double wall, and that double wall gives us security protection until we get our new database in. We will have a new database, and one of the most important things about that is a lot of our online people, we will be able to do everything except for the fingerprints right online. And so the time that we will count the licensing will count once the application is complete until they fix it. So we should see the turnaround even go down more, the turnaround time, because right now, the way that we're having to have to count it is from the time that they get to the mailbox to the time that they produce the license. And that's doesn't really count the whole time from the time that they mailed it and so on and so forth. So we should make a lot of the ADWs a lot happier. A lot of the horsemen who either have a hard time with technology or need some help figuring out how to do it, language like Spanish, are going to need some hand holding. So we're taking one or two of our old computers and taking all of our software on them so we can use them just to help with those people.
Would it be fair to say that the new system will save enough time that we'll be able to provide additional support to those folks who need it?
Absolutely. Plus, the better thing is the new system will provide enough time. We hope the first year is going to be tough. Every time you have a first year on, it's a learning factor. But the ultimate goal is we're going to have enough time where our investigating crew can do more of what they're supposed to be doing instead of licensing.
Great.
All right, and then the last one, go down to the next little pretty blue thing. I'll call it a graph for the fun of it. This one, we had one commissioner who rated us down. I'm not even gonna say one commissioner. We had one set of ratings out of the 4 that said that they didn't feel like they were as involved as they should be in the budget process. And that may be because one of our commissioners has not been here through an entire budget cycle, so hasn't seen the whole process. That's the only area that we didn't get a top score in, so that would have got us at the 100 level. So I'll make sure that all of our new commissioners, just to make sure, one of the things I'll do in orientation with them is I'll be adding the budget to orientation. So they're coming in understanding the process right from the beginning. I'm making a note, sorry.
Me too.
Oh, just real quick. Dr. Lombard was having difficulty logging in. I don't see. Leah, if you're keeping an eye out for anyone who joins in, that'd be great.
The last one is overall customer service. We sent out a survey I tried to grab everything in the database that had an email. We still are having a hard time getting emails for everyone, and a lot of our constituents don't use email. We might try a paper survey again for the horsemen next year to see if we get more. We did get more horsemen than we ever have before. We didn't get a single jockey to fill it out. And I think that's the horsemen where we get some of the best feedback. We already know, I mean, when our ADWs always give us really, really high rating, the horsemen usually have more concerns, and we're not getting enough of those concerns. Although I do hear it on the backside when I'm here. So overall, we did 83%, which is above our goal of 80. So that concludes that section.
So that's that.
And then I think we want to, do you have any questions about that for strategic planning?
I'm glad to hear that even though the jockeys weren't as engaged in their responses, that you're hearing from them on the backside and talking to them. I think that's important. I'd love to be getting, more structured feedback from them.
So what would you like to recommend for that, for our strategic initiatives?
Some way to engage the jockeys, I think would be very useful. Would that be a thing that we would refer to the full commission?
I think it would, and maybe some of at the end when we do a public comment, maybe we'll get some public comments from our esteemed audience members on what they think we can do to better engage the jockeys. I've been trying and I haven't had a whole lot of luck. So,
Yeah,
we did start a helmet replacement program this summer. I thought maybe that would get them to more interested. It may be a matter of that they don't really check email. Again, the paper forms in 2 languages may be very helpful. But I think more engagement in general from the jockeys would be extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. I agree. They're such an important part of this process. We really need to hear what
From
they have
them.
to say.
Yeah. Okay. Any other concerns or questions about that, other than we need to talk to, sounds like we've got 2 points that we need to get across to the full commission is we need more involvement with the jockeys, and we need some help from the medication committee on our goals. Mid and long-term goals. All right, the next area of this is, speaking of short, mid, and long-term goals, just to look at what is currently in our strategic plan. And if you go down to, I think we want to go down to below SMART goals, goal 1. We'll just review these with consideration of our KPMs and the information I got from the feedback from the commissioners. I'll mention this again in our large meeting, but the feedback that I got from the commissioners were the most important goals they had for me were to safety first, finance and revenue. And those were really tied. And then outreach. So finance, revenue, and safety are the first 2, the most important things for me to focus on over the next 2 years. Obviously, we want the money, goal 1, thank you. And then outreach. So we want to incorporate those in our strategic plan where we can. Also mentioned was innovation and technology and regional. So I will have those, we'll try to add some elements of those in. But those top 3 will be my primary focus over the next year. When we look at our current goals, the first one is promote live racing in Oregon to enhance all aspects of horse racing industry and supporting a strong Oregon economy. Obviously, we're always looking to increase purses, which we can't do if we don't have money. But one area I think is the meeting we had this morning, if you'd like to talk about that.
I'd love to. So we met with Anise Montplaisir. I hope I didn't butcher her last name. In broad strokes, she would like to bring educational opportunities in the form of integrating curriculum into school programs, 4-H programs, ag programs, and then creating real world experiences for participants at places like Grant Pass where they can actually get hands-on experience. Is that
Yeah,
in broad
that's,
strokes capture it?
we'll go into more
Uh,
details.
I think the main points that I want to hit on is for 2 years of this program, she anticipated a cost of $50,000,
Which we don't have today.
which we do not have today, because we have a really great team that is looking for ways to save money so that maybe we could do something like this. We may have money later. The plan, I think, is that the plan is that we'll go to the main committee meeting today, our commission meeting today. We'll say this is something that if the funds, if we can find the funds,
For
we
1
recommend
year.
for 1 year.
Yeah.
We recommend moving forward with this.
To be determined in September, in March.
Well, yes, when we're doing biennium.
Yeah.
Very preliminary conversations. I think ORC's interest is in seeing Amplify get established and helping them launch in Oregon, and then helping them get connected to other stakeholders and
Okay,
educational
yes.
infrastructure that would support their program in the long term. But I think we're well positioned to help them get going and to connect them with the people they need to be connected with, and hopefully to get them some early funding so that they can show folks what they can do.
And the emphasis would be in Grants Pass, Oregon, because it just fits in better with the schedule. We'd like to be doing things across the state, but to do basically a project, a test project location. And again, she'll be there to answer any questions for the full commission.
I think our feeling is that Amplify is well positioned to help get various stakeholders connected through this educational process in a way that's going to be beneficial to a lot of folks in the state, not just the kids that they would be exposing to the industry, but the industry as a whole, just through greater connectivity.
Right. And some of this we've
stakeholders.
already started by trying to get the veterinarians, potential veterinarians in as vet techs, so they understand that there is a future in horse racing. Goal 2, ensure safety and security. We've already talked about that. We're looking for some specific measurable goals beyond what we have from that committee. Continue to be the leader in licensing and regulating, online wagering. I think we've done really well on that. We will have, even though we're not having any more in-person meetings to speak of, we do have five licenses that are renewing next year. 6 ADW licenses that are renewing next year. They all will be in Portland, and we have enough of a Portland staff where we can handle that meeting. We'll bring Mike up for that, and that'll be it. So we will spend time the day before having a meeting just for them and trying to make them feel special, especially since we had to cancel Tucson. I don't think that there's anything else that we need to really be working on there other than the continuation of that, unless you have any concerns or questions.
Nope. I think we covered it.
Technology savvy, we're working on that. That was also an area that we were asked to look at, is how we can use innovation and technology to better support the industry. And that is one of my goals for the next year. Increased transparency. I think we've done a lot on transparency. I don't know that even needs to be. I mean, I think it's a good goal, but I think we've done a pretty good job.
At this stage, I would be comfortable changing increase to maintain. I think it's important.
Yeah.
The public needs to trust us, and transparency is the beginning of trust.
Or maybe we look at other goals to replace that. Perhaps when we have our next strategic planning meeting, my staff and I will come up with some other possibilities.
That would be a good thing to review. I'd appreciate that.
And that is it for that. We've already talked about the
Customer service license
I think we
turnaround.
talked about everything.
Yeah, we
Commissioner
talked about the orientation
involvement,
process.
I think the commissioner involvement,
Well, you'd mentioned having an orientation process at the beginning,
that's,
which I think is a really actionable, if we could get that lined out and consistent so that every commissioner who comes on, regardless of their back, because we have a bunch of different backgrounds,
right.
got the same kind of, and something along the lines, oh gosh, we don't need to get into the weeds. An orientation process would be a great action step, I
I
think.
do want to go back to one point on the ADWs. I'd like to call Micah Lloyd up, our Director of Mutuals, to talk about progress on responsible wagering. He oversees the person who does on tracks and he does the ADWs.
Hi, Michael Lloyd, I'm staff member, Director of Mutuals. When I started just under 3 years ago here with the commission, and the commission at that time emphasized to me the importance around responsible gaming, not only here in state, but also through the ADWs, of which we have so many coming through our state. So I want to talk about two different components. First, the in-state wagering on tracks and things of that nature. Don Rome, my supervisor of paramutual, reached out to the Oregon Problem Gambling Resource, who graciously donated a lot of flyers and whatnot that we gathered and distributed to all of the fair meets, signs here like this. It's bilingual, up and around all the betting terminals. She and I are also often on the ground watching to make sure we don't have any underage gambling. That's a separate question. But I also have chatted with the paramutual staff, the mutual team who are taking the wagers to just make sure they're aware of this as a component around wagering and how important it is just to be aware of people's wagering habits. Secondarily is the online component, which is a lot more, I guess, easy to monitor. There are a lot of algorithms, a lot of scriptings available to keep track of that, but also the way historically the online wagering components handle responsible gaming was more of a black and white thing. Okay, do you have a problem? We'll turn you off. And I guess people are less likely to take that route when it's black and white. I can't wager anymore. Well, then I'm not going to go that route. Most, if not all, of the ADWs now have more of a tiered approach. I need a timeout, which folks are much more likely to step up and say, now I need a timeout from wagering. I need a timeout from depositing money. And these variables are showing much more significant acceptance by the end users. I audit these things every year, all these components, not only on site when I'm talking with the ADWs. I look at the list of clientele that they have received those requests from. I ensure that in fact they were addressed, but I also test it myself. I log on, I create test accounts, and towards that, okay, I got a problem. It's tough having the regulators say I have a problem, but it's part of the testing component. And I've seen actually our executive director, who has had this role in previous years, also go in and turn her wagering off for responsible gaming. I was on site doing one at ADW, signing up and then trying to wager, and it wasn't working. And I happened to be on the phone with the agent who was in the room and didn't realize I was the one that they were talking with. I was able to walk up behind him while I'm on the phone. No, I need to be turned off. And he realized I was sitting right behind him. So they do take it seriously. They understand the importance of this requirement. It is a requirement. It isn't a rule. And most take it to the next level. And I really appreciate seeing that next level component. Everyone's always looking to raise the bar because they realize how important this is.
And I would say compared to most state sports wagering, we actually are more progressive.
There are a couple of states who in my opinion, take it even further and create it.
I said most.
Yeah. Well, and I would prefer, I like the way we're handling it now. There are those who take it where you have to sign up with a state centralized system. And it creates a technical burden that is difficult to manage. I believe that we're handling this just fine. And we continue to monitor how we, and I work with the ADWs on the path forward.
Megan, do you know, do any of our ADWs track gambling patterns that could indicate problematic gambling or compulsive gambling as opposed to recreation?
Absolutely. It can be handled on multiple fronts, not just the wagering pattern, but also the deposit and funding components, chasing. There are a lot of, I want to say proprietary, but everyone has their own different ways of keeping in front of it. That's why I don't like dictating what has to be done because that stifles.
Creativity.
Yeah. I like to say this is our bare minimum.
But you are seeing them digitally analyze patterns and proactively.
Yes, it's
Attention.
yeah.
One of the other things that he does during his audits, that we've been doing for a long time is we get a list of all the people that have previously listed themselves as not wanting to gamble and checking the current list to make sure that if somebody was a longer, that they weren't turned on early.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, and computers are smart. Generally, they throw in a computer and there's no way around it. I've had in my testing, turn me on. All right, so now I can't do it. Okay, my testing's done, you can turn me off. We can't. That is a great answer.
That's really something.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I think we covered everything except public comment. Any public comment at this time? Okay, Randy, will introduce yourself, please, for the record.
Randy Lee, Executive Director of the HBPA, and Commissioner Berry and Executive Director Wynn. So I'm just going to run through kind of my list and then you can, first a question on the veterinary thing. At one point, Connie, you had an idea that it might help our situation if the veterinary were not constrained to be only working for the state of Oregon for the entire year since we have a short racing season. And I wondered if that ever came to fruition.
For the whole year for them to be full.
Well, I remember at one point you told me that one person who now no longer in consideration said, if I can work when the racing season is going in Oregon, if I can work for somebody else during the rest of the year.
Yeah, we actually have approved her budget a bit, but we can actually hire someone full-time year-round, even though they won't be working full-time year-round. It's basically it's letting us double their salary because they won't be working much on the off season and they can work some other job. So we do have that, and that's a position we just most recently posted. We haven't really pushed it out there yet because we have a couple candidates they're thinking about it, but we will be pushing that out before it closes further. Good question.
Next question, Mike, on your metrics, on your tracking your are overages for substances that are acceptable versus
The way that
test for banned stuff.
That's a good question. You might think this is odd, but the way the legislator set it up is it's for control is the only thing we're reporting.
Yeah, and I think in a way that's good because I think an overage can be, an oversight in some cases. I'm not saying.
Right.
But.
We're tracking.
Banned substance should go down as a banned substance.
Right.
violation.
Yeah, we separate them out. And this metric is only for that at this point. If we ever add another one, maybe we'll do another one. But right now, we're just keeping it just like it is.
Yeah, well,
And again, we've given a lot of extra time on some of the changes we've made to make sure we've given this whole last summer to get used to the most recent one. So, yeah, good question. Anything else?
okay. As it concerns wanting more horsemen's input on your survey, I mean, I don't know if it's too late in the year, but we have once a year, we have a all horsemen's meeting. And We beat them, which means they'll all show up. So if you had something in writing, we could literally get every horseman filled out.
Is that for tonight?
It's gonna be the last weekend of the meet.
Oh, I can totally get something together by then.
Okay, and we'll just basically say this, it's not enough, just fill us out. So at least you'll get some feedback. Because we usually get anywhere from 50 to 70, something like that in there.
And they serve.
Fill it out before you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you don't get to eat until you fill out your survey. That's the one right there, yeah.
Drop off your plate. Here's your
That's
plate.
it, that's it.
I don't write it down, it doesn't happen.
Okay, next thing, Commissioner Berry, wanting to get the youth involvement part. It occurred to me that maybe a resource, a guy who knows raising up, down, and sideways, who is now doing nothing but raising money for youth, is Randy Hubers. Because he's president of Boys and Girls Club.
Oh,
And they have,
getting in touch with Anise. was,
Yeah.
Real, that'd be a,
and they raise big money there.
that's a good idea. Thank you.
That's
Good
an
idea.
excellent idea. That's what we need, more ideas like that.
Well, and I think that's where we're gonna get benefit from connecting stakeholders for mutual benefit.
Personally, he's gonna be well connected.
He'll know the folks. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, one more with that.
That's all good,
Well,
good.
okay, so understand that when I worked for ADW, I wrote the operating plan for one of our current ADWs. And that operating plan, it was black and white. If somebody came and said, I believe I have a problem, they were shut off forever. Now, I don't know if it's still that way within that organization because I'm not there anymore. But I remember at the time, there were some of the other organizations that had, like, when you said you had a problem, you were shut off for 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Well, and that's why,
Which basically was saying, yeah, you got a problem, but I bet you get over it in 6 weeks. And I'm telling, I'm telling you, I gotta say, I'm a probation officer for 10 years. There is no such thing as a partial addiction. You either are or you aren't. So I don't care whether it's alcohol, drugs, or gambling. If you're an addictive personality, it's not gonna go away.
well, the reason that that's a really good, I really appreciate that, because I absolutely was on the same track with you. Absolutely. I'm like, it's done, you're done, that's it. But I talked to some experts in the gambling arena, and the feedback that I got was some gamblers won't ever tell you that they're addictive gambler if they think it's forever, and you'll get more if they can opt out for a shorter period of time, and perhaps they'll get some help. They may not, but that's how we've been operating recently. And that's why we made
No,
the
I'm
change.
sure, Mike, I'm sure you get a lot better feedback that way. Bearing in mind, of course, that it probably is one of those situations where the wife comes up and gets him by the ear and says, I've had enough of this. We got bills to pay, stop. Bet no.
Yeah.
If I can also add, what this does.
I-
I'm sorry, yeah.
Would you like to call on Micah?
I would.
We're trying to be more
Official.
efficient.
I recognize Michael Lloyd, Director of Mutual.
And adding towards that, the ADW operators are now aware when someone does that grade component, it draws focus to that person. So even though the grade level expires or whatnot, there is an extra focus and monitoring and ensuring the integrity of that player.
It's more of a 3 strikes and you're out. Or whatever.
Or whatever, yeah, I don't want to speak towards any specific ADW business operations, but I hear you there, Jeff.
One other point I'd like to make is, as you know, a lot of the addicted gambling people get cut out way before they ask to be cut out because of all the bounce checks and bad ACHs.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to speak to this. Compulsive behaviors are tricky. everybody's got one. When they get real stressed out, they go to it. You all know what yours is. Nobody else probably does except people closest to you. What we're discussing is the difference between two models. One is addiction as a chronic and progressive illness that does not go away. The other is harm reduction, which addresses less the pathology of the compulsive behavior and more any engagement is good. I'll pick on alcohol for an example, but if dad drinks 4 beers a night, it's bad for his liver, but it's better than drinking a fifth of whiskey. What we found is that there's a large demographic of people who will never enter what a lot of folks would call full recovery. I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't, whatever their stress response is. It's hard watching people ruin their liver drinking a whole bunch of alcohol day after day. But if they can hold down a job, it's better than if they can't hold down a job. And if they can be kind to their kids, it's better if they can't be kind to their kids. So what we found is for those folks who, at least now, and maybe never, aren't going to enter sobriety, full recovery, abstinence, we can still reduce the harm, and we're a lot more likely to engage them and get buy-in. If we don't have, right, once the court has you and your probation officer, you can say, don't use, and that's so helpful in a lot of treatment situations. But when we don't have other leverage, just that opportunity to engage them and say, hey, how can we limit the damage caused is sometimes the best we can do. And, I take a ham sandwich if I can't get a 3-course meal. So that's kind of where we end up being. Randy, I'm with you. I've known people and watched them hurt themselves with compulsive behaviors. It is pervasive throughout our culture and communities and many others. And it would be nice if we could stop doing it entirely. But in the meantime, we're just trying to engage folks, I think.
No. Credit to Mike and all of everybody on, I think the APWs that are licensed here do an excellent job of being aware of it and dealing with it, each in their own way. It's just, sometimes when it slips in, like somebody's saying, well, we'll give you a few weeks and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Other than that, but still,
and we don't let that happen either anymore.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be happening.
I think what you're pointing out is that measured responses, we don't want to under-respond so that we're not in a bona fide manner addressing the issue. And we don't want to over-respond so much so that people avoid the situations that would give us an opportunity to engage them.
And I completely agree with Mike that having 10 people self-report that they might have an issue versus having one person report that I definitely have an issue, not gonna quit.
Yeah.
So I think you're serving the public better, by at least here. So I'm good.
Ask for any other public comment?
And Rod, please introduce yourself for the record, sir.
Rod Lowe, lots of titles, but I'll just go with Director of Racing Grass Basket. Back to the vet issue. I know that you guys are working diligently to try to find state vets, and I talked to Connie at one point about our other situation, which is our track vet. We have an issue and with trying to get a track vet at all of our race meets and so on and so forth. So my comment is that as you're looking at state vets and you're talking to these different vets in different capacities, could you also bring up about a track veterinarian position and what that would look like for one person for all of our tracks? Not have different track veterinarians at different tracks. Now, they can still use outside veterinarians for other things, but I'm looking for mutant LASIK specifically. And then they have the opportunity to do other work at the track at the same time. X-rays and exams and so on and so forth. So maybe there's somebody out there that maybe doesn't want to be the state veterinarian, but maybe would want to be just a part-time veterinarian to go from track to track.
And I'd like to address that is the only person that we have talked to most of them about that not all of them, because like one of them is from Iowa. She's not gonna do that. So, we have one person. The problem that we're running into with most of these vets that we've talked to is, a lot of them have small children that we've been working with recently. And their children are very active. So it's harder for them to do that. And when we get into the people who are closer to their retirement years, like Dr. Palmer, they don't want to be chasing the money around for things like that. They're not as interested in that job as they would be our job. I've asked Dr. Lombard, she laughed at me about it.
She's up there. I saw her. She's listening.
Right, Dr. Lombard, you laughed at me about it, right? So it's very difficult. One thing that I thought about that could be a possibility is that the association and the racing commission work together to maybe fund a minimum amount of money that we pay, maybe $500 a day, plus whatever they make. That might encourage someone. That's one of the thoughts that I had. And apparently Dr. Lombard would like to say something.
Recognize Dr. Lombard. Please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Dr. Lombard. I'm a veterinarian who is on contract off and on here for you guys at the Race Commission. Honestly, I think one thing that would be really helpful would be if you guys would fund the person to chase the money. If there was a technician or a bookkeeper and we could hire a vet that didn't have to chase these guys down for their $25 for their LASIX every time, I think our barrier to entry to hire a track vet would be so much easier.
What if,
That's really one of the biggest barriers. When I've called, and you know, Connie, you know, Director Wynn, I've called every vet I know to try and get coverage for these track vets, for their treating vets. And that's the biggest barrier to entry is they don't want to chase the money all day, every day.
So the vet themselves is responsible for each individual billing service.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's okay.
Yeah.
so,
Or if in some states, they run it through when you enter your horse, it goes through the racing office and you pay for your LASIX then when you enter the horse. I mean, there's ways to do this. I think we can figure it out. I don't think it'll be easy, but I think it's doable. And I think it is something that we can all work together on.
is that something, do we know of other what tracks are currently doing that? And is that something that could work for Grants Pass? I mean, that would be something we'd want to talk to on the fair meet call probably.
I know they're doing it in New Mexico. I don't know about other tracks, but I know in New Mexico, when you enter your horse and you enter it on LASIX, you pay the race office for your LASIX. So the vet knows they're getting paid. Nobody has to chase it around. It's just taken care of.
Who do we give this? Does everybody agree this would be a useful thing to solve this billing issue? Anybody in the room?
Yeah.
I think it would be it's a barrier to entry. I don't know that it would solve everything. But it's a barrier to entry.
It would help with, yeah.
Before we go back to Rod, I saw that Ms. Parkman had her hand up. Do you have a comment? And then let's go to Rod and ask him what his opinion is on that. Louder.
Administration of the agency. Is there a way, Alice, that you could give us some kind of a number per day that you would earn, or that a vet would earn on the backside, so that we have some number that we're working with?
I can figure that out. It's just based
Yeah,
on the,
it's simple. Yeah.
it's pretty simple math. I can show you how to do it.
Who wants to take responsibility for action?
I think,
making this
So
action?
it can definitely go, and be taken out of their account. They don't have to physically come in and pay their $25 every
Okay.
time. It's just put on as a bill on their account for that day. And so it's taken out of their purse or out of their account. And they get to the end of the meet and what's that?
I didn't think you could do that.
It's up to them whether we can do that or not.
The only thing that comes out of there right now is a duck.
So
No.
Do you think we need a
Oh,
rule?
yeah, pictures come out, that's right, yeah.
Would it be worthwhile to make that part of the stable application or trainer application? And it's just on there as that's what happens.
Let me check, let me look in the rule and see if there's anything that prohibits that. And then perhaps on the first fair meet call, we can all discuss it. That might be a really good way to solve the problem. Hopefully, I still don't know if it's gonna solve the problem to get one person, but
But
maybe.
again, it
We
removes
still
it,
have to find somebody.
and it's a real obvious barriers that look, sounds pretty straightforward to solve. So Connie, you're gonna
There's
do a
the
little
other
looking to see what would
element,
go into that.
of the reporting also, right? If a veterinarian's giving the basic shot or view shot or whatever, they're supposed to report it, correct? To the,
Correct.
It is on their LASIX report to the test barn every day. And we can work as a team to make sure that that somehow wraps into their billing if that's the direction we're going. But
We
the
can-
test barn needs to know every day, every horse that got LASIX and at what time and how much. So that's already being done.
We actually have that scanned into the computer when we have a scanner. The day after the race is over. So we have that and we could just automatically start giving a copy to bookkeeping or whoever, so you could see. Cause they'll write on there what time they gave it and what dose they gave. And it doesn't matter what the dose is, they all charge the same. So you would have a record of that. Is there any reason why that information, Dr. Longbard, would be confidential? I can't think of any.
I can't think of any. We need to double check, but I can't think of any.
Dr. Lombard, this is a little broader, but is what I'm hearing you saying is that you believe for about any vet, the more time they get to spend being a vet and less time they have to spend doing anything else, the more
Sorry.
appealing the position will be.
Story of my life. Yes, absolutely. And that I think is one of our biggest barriers to entry to getting anybody boots on the ground doing this work is the bookkeeping.
I think that's very useful feedback. Thank you.
I can see how this works for Butte Lasix, but if a track veterinarian that's working independently does other work besides
That's
that,
on them.
That's
That's
on
on
them.
them.
But we, at least
I
they'd
would
have.
say, I would say Butte and LASIX because they're reportable, right? They're reportable to the racing commission and the race office, that is something that the track can help facilitate payment for. Now, if they take x-rays, if they do drug injections, if they treat a sick horse that's got snots, whatever else, they need to do their own work there.
I
And
just
that's
want
my opinion.
only Butte Lasix that's gonna come out of there.
Absolutely. There's no way that
Yes,
you do anything
none
else.
of the rest of it.
I could be abused like crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have to work through it, but I'll take the lead on that.
I don't know if, do you have time to, how complicated?
I
See,
don't think this is very complicated.
Okay.
I think this is actually an easy thing. I don't know if it's enough. I'm feeling like what we probably might have to do is give them a daily stipend in addition to this. I think that's how we're really gonna get one person to do it all. Even if it's only a $250 daily stipend, something in addition, because
The only thing, this is a small piece of it, but as far as I know, Dr. Jensen's truck is not set up to do either x-rays or scopes or any of that stuff. And that's something that the horseman asked me about, if we're gonna have a vet out here, could they have the equipment that they could operate with? Because if you got a horse that needs those services, it just isn't there at this time.
this is way outside of anything I think the commission could do. Would there be a desire to have a full-time vet with a full-time clinic right on premises or near premises? Is that a thing that could even, I mean, I guess it sounds like,
yeah, technically speaking, so here's the deal, as my dad always said. It's a big negotiator. Here's the deal. We should have a veterinarian from the commission who's here every single training day. And we should have a veterinarian at the track every single day for training, but there is not enough money for us to do that in the world. There's no way that we can pay for someone so our rules carve out that a treating vet can be off-site as long as they're on call, which is what we currently have. We have Dr. Bradford here, who is on call and can come to the facility and treat the horses at this location. Now, what we found out in Tillamook is they don't have that. And that became a problem this last race meet. But they all, if under the current situation, they all have to have someone they can call on. They're fine in Union, they're fine in Primeville, as I understand it, at least last year. But Tillamook Tillamook is a very big concern. We definitely have to work on that. And that's why having one vet doing all of them would be good. But I think it's going to be a challenge. Even
It's
still.
a challenge to hire a vet to do equine work anywhere you are in the world right now. So, I mean, you guys are not alone here in this.
All right.
Couple other things.
Oh, yeah,
Rod?
please.
Talking about jockeys, how to contact jockeys or get them involved. So, two things. Number one, you can either try to go through Darrell Pear, which is the jockey guild,
I've talked to him
Correct.
before. Yep.
or you can show up in the jocks room on a race day when they're all in there ahead of time.
Yeah.
Bring somebody Spanish speaking, because you need.
We've done that too.
And lay out and get their comments or.
Yeah.
Help them fill out something to get their comments.
Good, okay.
Because otherwise they're from track to track, running around, you won't catch them. They don't have, a stable usually place to live or stable mail where they get stuff. So you're just gonna have to track them down to where they're at.
We
And
will
while
get
you-
the,
While you are providing Spanish translated documents, you gotta take into account the literacy level, even in Spanish.
right, and that's what we're gonna have to rely on them helping each other a little bit. But it sounds like I'm gonna be putting a lot of forms together in both in Spanish and English and bringing them next week.
One last thing, on the youth program, the youth involvement, the 50,000.
We can't pay for the 50,000.
I understand. I see the importance of it, don't get me wrong. I wanted to know what the track record was of how that program's been working other places. If there is a tracking of that, and if it's been successful. I totally agree with getting the youth involved and there's lots of organizations that do that. And I know that they're making this a profession to try to do this for racetracks, and I
So,
commend her for doing that.
so, and I thought about that too. I thought, well, we might be able to do some of this ourselves without paying the money. But who of us have the extra time, other than,
I don't know if we have the time, but maybe we can find somebody that has the time that's local or something.
so why don't we, when you do your report, as part of your report, would you mind calling her up and asking her to address what kind of success rate they have and what measurable results? I think that's an excellent point. Because if they can't prove it, it's really not worth it. But I think doing something in that area
And is
somewhere.
there an option to do a partnership? Like, can we find somebody here
So I think
that she could work with that wouldn't cost as much money?
this is
Well,
one of the things that I kind of like about the model is they're going to need some funding to get started. Ultimately, ORC, I don't think is the organization that would be supporting it. So this would be a discrete investment in an organization that's going to, in a targeted way, work to get youth involved using existing infrastructure, schools, educational institutions. Obviously, we got to look at the measurables. We got to look at the results. This is very preliminary right now. But
I have some other thoughts on that
yeah.
that I brought up during the meeting. I'll share with you.
Okay.
Also, a prime candidate for state and federal grants.
That's a
Mhm.
good,
I think there are a lot of possible funding avenues for this.
I
think.
I like the grant money,
Mhm.
not state money, but
And it is out there, and I think we can work with stakeholders. I think Randy brought up a great stakeholder. I think it's a good program. I think ORC wants to support it. I don't think we want to support it forever, and I don't know exactly how much we'll be prepared to support it, but we think it's a good thing. Well, I think it's a good thing, and I'm going to talk about it at the larger commission meeting and see what the other commissioners say. But no, it's a good point. We don't want to be running a great big program that costs a lot of money indefinitely.
that has no results.
That has no, yeah, that has no results. So,
But one of my concerns about our discussion with her was, we did bring up the fact that we may have somebody, I don't know what this individual would think about it, but I do have a staff member who will be off season, who is very inexpensive, that might be interested in taking on some of this work. And a lot of it is, I mean, it's not rocket science in a lot of ways. So I don't know that we couldn't replicate some of it. But I agree, there's more that we need to do. And that they wanted to personally come out and run it as opposed to teaching this person how to run it. Which, yeah, so we'll continue to work on it, but really good feedback.
other public comment? All
I have a
right,
couple things.
go ahead, Dr. Lombard.
So I also just anecdotally received a pretty significant scholarship from Race for Education, and here I am now. So when I was undergrad, so there are outcomes somewhere, whether you like me or not. Here I am. But that wasn't really my comment. But the few comments that I do have is I hope that you guys can make sure that the commission understands when we're talking about our metrics, when we're talking about positive tests right now, that so many things have changed as far as the way that we're making sure we're getting urine and that we've switched labs. So yes, we are getting more positive tests, and somehow that looks bad in a way that we have more positive tests, but it's also we're acknowledging the fact that we've got.
And Dr. Lombard, Connie actually did address that, and our feeling
Okay.
at this time is that catching more is ultimately, hopefully, going to correlate with lower breakdowns on the track. The hope
That's
is
my
that
goal.
I think so. I don't think at this stage nobody's unhappy that we're catching more injuries,
Okay.
Except for being caught.
except the people.
I mean, the people who are getting caught, yeah. But
We're-
yes.
We're real glad that the vets are doing their due diligence and catching
Okay.
issues. That's what we
Okay.
want, what we hire a vet
Okay.
for.
And then the other thing was the jockey engagement, and I think you guys have addressed that pretty well. I just will say language barrier is an issue, and also just being there and having conversations, whether they're on, when the horse gets legged up and the jockey's on in the morning, and the jockey comes off the track and goes, "This doesn't feel good." And they are willing to say that now because they're having good conversations with the people who are willing to listen. A lot of things have changed, and I'm very appreciative of all of it.
Thank you. Other comments? Going once, going twice. This meeting is adjourned.